Good morning, everybody. My name is Greg Murdock. My spirit name is Mio Pimpatamaskwa, and with Miang Dodam. That means good running bear and with the wolf clan. And I always like to mention that when I'm doing talks because it's a very important part of who I am, what my identity is. At one time, I was known strictly as Greg Murdock. That's the name that was given to me at birth by my mother. She believed, she liked an actor named Gregory Peck. And he was a very handsome actor way back in the days. And my mother knew that I was going to be handsome as well, so she gave me the name Gregory. That's where that came from. And I like to honor that name as well because I know my mother gave it to me with a lot of love. My spirit name came later on in life, and it was as a result of my journey to find out exactly who am I as a human being. Am I simply Greg Murdock, the name that was given by my mother, or is there more to me than that? And I've come to see that there's a lot more to me than just my English name. If you have an English name and you know what that's all about, but you don't know anything about your own culture, then it leaves a vacuum inside of you. It leaves an emptiness there that you can't quite understand. But nevertheless, when you start to jump into the culture and you start doing the various things that are required there, one of them is to identify your name. And when you get your spirit name, what it does is it shows you that there's a different way of looking at the world and experiencing the world other than the way that we're taught in school, like from 1 to 12. And it's I call it the Anishinaabe way, or the Nehiyawak way, or some people call it the Red Road. But it's slightly different. There's a different way of looking at things and appreciating things. For instance, my name, Good Running Bear, it comes from the fact that I'm supportive of a man that gave his life for his people many, many years ago, a guy named Big Bear, who was a Cree leader in the 1800s. He was one of the last to sign treaties, and he distrusted the government's intentions, so he wanted things to remain the way they were. He got involved in something that's known historically as the Louis Riel Rebellion. And as a result of that, he was unfairly sent off to prison. And he eventually was released. And he made his way back to his community and he died there. And relatives of the people that he's from, his descendants, know him not as a person who went to prison. They see him as a hero who was fighting for his people. And so there was a man named Simon Kaitwahat who was a Sundance Chief. And he wanted to honor this man, Big Bear. And I had made contact with Simon and I got to know him. And when he told me about his walk that he did every year to honor this man's memory, I asked him if I could join him, and he said sure. And so a couple of years I made that walk with him in Saskatchewan. One day I was talking to him and I said, Simon, you know, I have a spirit name that was given to me by Anishinaabe man many years ago. It's called Painted Sky Man. But I've often wondered, should I have a Cree name? And I know that Simon was Cree, so he said, yeah, I think we'll see about that. So I was sitting in this vehicle on the reserve in northern Saskatchewan, and there was a white man sitting beside me in the car. And I seen Simon outside the vehicle, up against the building, talking to this woman. And then this woman came over to where I was sitting in the car, and she started talking to me. And it sounded to me like she was scolding me because she was speaking in the language, in the Cree. And to show you what a crazy world we live in today, she was speaking in Cree. I don't speak Cree. This man that was beside me, he was a white man, he speaks Cree fluently and he understands it. So I asked this white man, what is this woman talking about? And he said, she's given you a spirit name. And I just said, okay, Miigwech. So I had to ended up giving her some tobacco and some cloth and a small gift for what she had done. And I realized that it came about because Simon had asked this woman to do that, simply because I had asked him if I could have that. I'm always amazed by the generosity of our people and how they're so willing to do things to help you out in your journey. To him, I'm sure it was a small thing, but to me it was a big thing. And I found out later that what you're supposed to do, once you find out what your name is, you have to find out why they gave you that name. They say that when you're born, you already have that name, but it has to be identified, usually in ceremony. And what I found out, that the reason that I got that name is because I had been supporting, because this woman must have asked Simon, well, what does this guy do? And Simon said, well, she comes and walks with me to support Big Bear. And so that's one of the reasons that I got that name. Anyways, I wanted to explain that to you because having that name and being able to identify that and share that story with you, it fills me with a sense of happiness, joy, and a little bit of pride. And that pride and that happiness that comes from just a simple little thing like knowing your name is part of the healing that needs to go on inside men like myself and other people as well. And so when I engage with people publicly or privately, I ask them, what's your spirit name? Do you know what your spirit name is? And if they don't know that, then what I do is I explain to them why it is that it's important. Another reason that I've been told that it's important to have your name is because the elders have told me that I've spoken to is that when you enter into prayer, when you do a smudge, and when you're offering a prayer to the spirits or the Creator, and you're asking for something, it helps them to know who you are if you know what your spirit name is, as opposed to your English name. And so that's another reason that I do it. Anyways, I just wanted to share that little bit for today. And with that, I'll sign off and say, Miigwech, thank you for listening.